Hello there everybody, and welcome to what may be the final demonstration of the game, which I've now named Data Purge. After a lot of consideration, I decided to just go for it, because ultimately what matters is the content. This was in previously, this beginning menu I believe. I'm using the lighting changing code that I wrote on here, and the filters as well, which are a third-party edition, to create this kind of eerie menu with some kind of like white noise and stuff as well going on in the background, which just gives it a little bit of a kind of weird but retro vibe, just to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to hop straight into the game, and you'll hear narration from an AI narrator, OV, or also known as Overlord. The evil AI is your narrator for the game for a lot of it, masquerading as a helpful assistant. And so yeah, I've used an AI voice generator to voice that character. Makes them just sound a little bit uncanny and a little bit weird. So I'll go into the game and I'll let you hear a bit of that before kind of showing off the changes to the combat system.
Hello, and welcome to Data Purge. Left-click to move your character and press 1, 2, 3, 4 and your right mouse button to activate your abilities. Defeat enemies and complete objectives to gain experience.
Right, so turn down the narrator now, so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. As you can hear, yeah, it's a kind of artificial voice. Sounds all friendly and nice, but also kind of weird and uncanny. And the voice lines are kind of meant to do that as well. The way I've written the script is it's very encouraging, but also what they're encouraging you to do is just kind of eternally play the game, which is, hopefully a little bit creepy and unsettling. And I've got the text coming up on the screen here, just to, if you wanted to read it, you can read it. It's a little bit hard to see because we're playing a little window, but on a full screen thing it's big enough to be clear. And it delivers that kind of exposition there, which kind of tells you a little bit about the setting. Changes to the combat, let's go into that right now. So as I wrote in the post, AoEs are also gone now, so we used to have a bunch of different ability types, and now whittled all the way down to just projectiles, because they were just more enjoyable than any of the others. But to add the variety back in, what I've done is added a bunch of different modifiers to the projectiles that they didn't have before. So before it was just they could apply different effects. Now also they can have different things added to them. So there is now the chance of them being a returning projectile, which, you guessed it, returns to you once it hits its max range, which means that if you miss someone, you can then hopefully maybe hit them on the way back. You also have multi-projectiles. Piercing was already there, so it can go through walls, but this is a multi-projectile, which means that it fires more than one, and the multi-projectiles have a spread value which determines how much they deviate from the aimed point. So I believe the first projectile always goes kind of dead center, exactly where you're aiming, but any subsequent ones can deviate from it by an amount up to the projectile spread value that's generated. The max in that currently is 15, so they could not deviate at all. They could all be pinpoint accurate, or it could go to 15 and have kind of a wide shotgun-like spread. We also have homing projectiles, which they have an area around them, which if an enemy gets within that area, they will steer themselves into that enemy. And all of these can be combined together, so you can't have a piercing, homing, returning multi-projectile all at the same time. But that would be quite rare. The number of projectiles is also varied, so it's not just 2. Some you can get up to 5, but it's very rare. I believe I've set it to like a 1% chance or something to get a 5 projectile ability. There's also a new addition, which is the warp feature, and I'll show you that in just a second. Let me just deal with this enemy. I've changed the balance of the game a lot as well, based on player feedback to make it more engaging. So yeah, there's teleport. This is a always equipped ability. You can't change it, you can't get rid of it. It's got a 10 unit range, cooldown 10 seconds, which obviously varies based on your stats, and it just instantly teleports you to a location. This has been done because now when you cast an ability, it creates an aiming ray showing you where that is going to go, and enemies do it too. So with the warp feature, what you can do is dodge incoming enemy abilities, because the warp also can be done while you're casting. You can't normally move while casting, but you can if you use a warp feature. This is kind of similar to the dodge in something like Dark Souls, which I'm a big fan of. So you can use this to, just start aiming and then duck out of the way of an enemy's shot at the last second, which increases the skill ceiling of the game, but also lowers the skill floor. It makes it easier to evade damage, but also, kind of mastery of that feature could really set players apart from one another. You've noticed as well, I'm not sure if I've shown it off before, there's now a different loot type, so it's not just abilities, you also have health packs, or health cores as I call them in the game. Now those heal you for up to 25% of your maximum health. There's the narrator OV coming into as we've leveled up as well. Let's look in our inventory to see if we have any interesting abilities. Nothing especially interesting. What I will do though is to demonstrate stuff better, I'll get our ability 0, use my developer hacks to bump its damage up. The overall damage of all abilities has been lowered from a max of 25 to a max of 15 now. Percent stat changes have also been removed because they were just largely not very good, because we're dealing with quite low numbers normally, so the flat mods are always better. So it's now only flat mods. Let's go to a 5 projectile count. Yeah, let's do that. Cool. Range has also been increased because we are focusing on ranged combat. So we want everyone to be able to fire from further away. What else is new? Let me just dispatch this enemy once they come into range with my 5 homing projectiles. Now that is obviously a very strong ability I've just made myself there, but that would be incredibly rare to have homing and 5 projectiles in and of itself is very unlikely. It's a 1% chance to get it. But to have that and homing and the amount of damage I've just given that ability is extremely unlikely. But that's part of the fun of the game, is that you might have a really great run. You might just find a really, really effective ability, but everything's got a cooldown. Everything will statistically have a downside. It'll have a cooldown, it'll have a range, so you can't just rely on it for all of your damage, although it will be quite strong.
Objective complete. That was amazing. Very impressive indeed.
So what you just saw there is you complete a level objective. The narrator now comes over the intercom effectively and says, congratulations, well done. But there's a chance for that to be interrupted by the hacker, who's the other character, who's voiced by me. And what I'll do is I'll turn on my dev hacks once again to enable the skip level button. Where is that? There's our final boss button, and here's our skip level button. So we'll enable those, which will let us hopefully get to the hacker narration pretty quickly. Just deal with that enemy quickly with our very cool ability. Another cool thing that we've added with the abilities is that there's now no distinction between offensive and supportive abilities. Healing and buffs can be found on any ability. It's less likely than offensive effects, so all abilities do damage, but in the same way there's a chance for an ability to apply a power debuff to an enemy, there's a chance for it to also heal you. And what it does is it heals any friendly characters it passes through. Obviously it's a single player game, so you don't have any friendly characters other than yourself, so it's just going to heal you. Whereas for enemies, they can use it to heal their allies. They won't do it intentionally, but if they're shooting at you with an ability with healing on it, and one of their allies walks in the way, it will heal them. And also, yes, there's a chance for a positive effect on ability. So yeah, it's all basically it's all one thing. They all go together. So and they can all mix and match. So here you can see this ability has healing on it, but it also has a damage over time effect for the enemies. So whether something's offensive or supportive, it's all one and the same. There's a chance for that all to be the case. So you can have an ability that does damage and heals and applies a debuff to an enemy and applies a buff to you and does many projectiles and all of these things at once, which just makes the projectile combat more exciting, more interesting. Anyway, let's skip this level.
Hello?
Listen to the narration.
Some things you need to know. I don't have long, so listen up. I can only get through when she opens up this audio channel. The year is 20... An AI called Overlord controls most of the world's governments, corporations, and resources. It creates simulations like this to keep you entertained. Passive, docile like cattle. So it can study your behaviour to better fight and subjugate us. Play along for now. Help is on the way.
So yeah, hopefully you heard the narration by me, or the voice acting of the hacker character. I went for kind of pretty much my own normal speaking voice, but slightly kind of rougher and lower, especially in the later portions of the game when the stakes get a bit higher. Just to make the character a bit relatable, as well. As you can hear, it's quite distorted. I'm speaking quite close to the mic, and the sensitivity's turned up really high. And I've added some kind of like white noise and stuff as well, all just to give the impression that the character is kind of using low quality equipment, that they're having kind of a rough life out there in the real world. Makes them more sympathetic, but also paints the picture that the real world isn't easy, which makes the player question whether or not they really want to go there, or they want to stay in this simple but fun simulation. Now hopefully I can press this hack button. What that does is that normally, once you've experienced all 5 interventions by the hacker, he'll enable the hack button for you, which allows you to go to the final boss fight.
Don't worry, you're safe with me. Let's get you.
Okay, the final boss doesn't appear to be working currently due to my dev hacks. So what I will do, since this is a bit of a long post and a bit of a long video anyway, is I will do that in a separate video dedicated to kind of the game's finale. I'll make that a separate thing. So yeah, for now that we'll call it there. As you've seen, implemented the narrative, made significant changes to the gameplay, and this is pretty much what our final game is going to be. Based on user feedback, it's a pretty satisfying and enjoyable little dungeon crawler, and it uses significant amounts of procedural generation to create these abilities, create these level layouts, spawn these enemies in, and basically just create an infinite game with kind of as much content as possible while minimizing the amount of content that the developer themselves needs to create, which I think is a cool framework for making games.